Hello, everyone. This is News Reporter Jack reporting to you live from Harlem about the news in Nigeria. As you know, they're looking at the Easter story, and each one is giving their own account. I can't believe it. There's so much action going on right now. Jesus has been captured by some soldiers or some people with plebs. Oh, it's just so frightening. But let's go back into it, find out what's going to happen. Hey, is this what Easter is all about? Then high priest stood up and said to Jesus, "Are you going to answer? What is this testimony that these men are bringing against you?" But Jesus remained silent. The high priest said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us, are you the Messiah, the Son of God?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. "But I say to all of you, from now on, you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his garment and said, "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now you have heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" "He is worthy of death," they answered. Then they spit in his face and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Messiah. Who will hit you?" Now Peter was out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him and said, "You are also with Jesus of Galilee," she said, but he denied it before them all. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Then he went out to the gateway, where the other servant girl saw him and said to the people there, "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth." But he denied it again with an oath, "I don't know the man." After a little while, those standing there went up to Peter and said, "Surely you're one of them. Your accent gives you away." Then he began calling down curses, and he swore to them, "I don't know the man." Immediately the rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the words Jesus had spoken. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." He went outside and wept bitterly. In other words, he was crying real bad. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him and led him away and handed him over to Pilate, the governor.
When Judas, who betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver the chief priests and elders had given to him. "I have sinned," he said, "for I have betrayed innocent blood. What is this to us? They replied, "That's your responsibility." So Judas, he threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself. He committed suicide. The chief priest picked up the coins and said, "It is against the law to put this into the treasury since it is blood money." So they decided to use the money to buy the potter's field as a place for burying foreigners. That is why it has been called the field of blood to this day. That it was spoken by Jeremiah, the prophet, was fulfilled. They took the 30 pieces of silver and the price set on him by the people of Israel. They used them to buy the potter's field as the Lord commanded. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the King of Jews?" He said, so Jesus replied, yeah, Jesus said, so. That was his reply. When he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus had made no reply, not even a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. And now it was the governor's custom of the feast to release a prisoner chosen by the crowds. At that time, Jesus, a well-known, at that time, there was a person named Barabbas. He was a well-known prisoner. So the crowds gathered. Pilate asked them, which one do you want me to release?" "Jesus, Barabbas! Give us Barabbas!" "Or Jesus, called the Messiah? Which one?"
For he knew it was out of his self-interest that they handed Jesus over to him. When Pilate was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent him a message. "You don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they replied. "Barabbas." "What shall I then do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. They called out to him, or they answered, that's the crowd, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted louder, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" When Pilate saw he was getting nowhere, but that instead the uproar was starting, and he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood. he said. It is your responsibility. All the people answered, his blood is on us and our children. Then he released Barabbas, but he had Jesus flogged and hanged him and handed him over to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus to a place and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him and twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They placed a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. Hail, King of the Jews! Hail, King of the Jews! They spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put on his clothes. Then they took him away to be crucified. As they were going along, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the skull. A place called the skull, and they're going to crucify him. What type of Bible? I didn't know all that was in the Bible. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm scared. I don't know about you, but we'll find out what happens tomorrow as Jesus continues suffering. It's been terrible. He was praying, and now he's suffering. What type of story is this? This is the Easter story. I can't believe it. Somebody help. Find out what happens tomorrow.